Do we have too much government?
We need to put people ahead of corporate profits.
This system is so lopsided.
This threat is a real threat to democracy.
And I think that's really important. That's something we haven't been doing in this country for a long time.
Where do you start? What do you do? How do you do it?
Access to Democracy and other Eagan community television programming is supported by Thomson Reuters, makers of Westlawn Next and based in Eagan. Through Westlawn Next and other innovative online services, Thomson Reuters is the world's leading source of intelligent information for businesses and professionals. Online at thomsonreuters.com. And by U.S. Federal Credit Union, the member-owned financial institution offering service, value, and experience you can trust to the greater Twin Cities community.
Welcome. This is Access to Democracy on location. And this is Alan Miller, as usual, your host. And we are here at the Cedarvale Bowling Alley in Eagan. And I must say, it's one of the nicer bowling alleys around. We're here with Scott Pohl, the pro here on track. And we're also going to be joined by Emily Janisch, who is a Sibley High School senior, a member of the state champion bowling team, and a young woman who has a lot of accomplishments already in her bowling career. We're calling it Bowling 18 to 80, and I'm the 80, by the way. Emily will show us some of the things she has learned. Scott, you are a 235 bowler. You've been a member of Team USA. You've traveled pretty much all over the world bowling. You've won a lot of championships and trophies. What are these here?
A couple of these are some of my favorite memories from bowling. One is from the Mini Eliminator Championship in Las Vegas. It's kind of like what we like to call a major amateur title, as well as this high roller, which you're probably familiar with a lot, being from the East Coast. Also another major amateur title.
Well, I was known as the low roller, but
you do just fine. But I'm really proud of these. There's only about 30 to 40 individuals that have one of these trophies, so I feel pretty blessed to have those in my trophy case. And then I also have a gold medal here from when I was on Team USA. I got to go to the Pan American Games, and that was from our doubles championship. So that was very rewarding to do. We won that in Santo Domingo. And yeah, so those are great memories for myself.
now, I have an article in my hand, really depressing, which is called America's Vanishing Bowling Alleys. And the fact of the matter is that there were 5,500 bowling alleys operating in the country 15 years ago. There are now 4,000. People are finding out that they can use the alley space or the property for more profit, so bowling alleys are diminishing, sadly. Now, there is a new theory in bowling that some of the corporations, AMF, Brunswick, etc., are following, which is setting up bowling centers where it's not just bowling at the location where you are. It's bowling, it could be roller bowling, it could be roller blading, it could be a lot of things. It could be a restaurant, and so on. So that may save bowling, which should have been an Olympic sport 100 years ago, and which still is not. Fair enough. Tell us some of the things that you brought and what you were going to demonstrate.
Okay, we're going to demonstrate today some differences in bowling balls. First of all, we just have the basic polyester ball, which is what's been around for a long time. It's been around for at least 30, 40 years. Very hard surface ball. It's what you find in the bowling centers when you pick something up off the rack to use. doesn't have a whole lot as far as hooking characteristic or grab, because actually what's inside of this ball is about the size of a golf ball. Okay, so not a whole lot on the inside, and we're going to talk more about that. The higher advanced bowling ball is going to have a couple different things. Much bigger engine inside or weight block. So what this does is it gets the ball turning a lot quicker. And also the outer shell is a lot stickier. This is what makes the ball create more hook on the lane and grab more friction as it rolls down the lane. So you can see a couple differences in the cores. So for instance, this one here being wider and fatter, and this one here being a little more narrow. The differences are this isn't going to hook as soon. Okay, it's kind of like this has a bigger revving engine quicker, and it's going to get going faster. And we're going to demonstrate that on the lane here.
Okay. Now, in addition to that, lanes are oiled. It's important to know what the oil pattern is as to how you can control your bowling ball. I'm going to be 80 in 2 days. I have never learned how to read an alley. Talk about how you can read the oil.
Sure. Reading the oil is basically you're grabbing a bowling ball and letting that be your guide. A lot of the time on your typical house patterns, there's less oil to the outside or the gutter, and there's more oil in the center. So what you can do is use your favorite part of the lane that you like to play, throw one down there and see what happens. If it doesn't hook enough, you make certain adjustments, and we're going to talk about that.
Okay. Let's do that. Now, you brought some different balls.
Correct.
So why don't you go over and show us some of those bowling balls
So we're going to start with that bowling ball that has sort of the golf ball interior here, so not a whole lot to it. So I'm going to try and hook this ball near the outside edge of the lane, and let's see what happens. Okay, so didn't really grab a whole lot of the lane there. What I'm going to be apt to do is go for a little more aggressive bowling ball. So I'm going to go reach for this one right here. And what I want to do, I'm going to keep my feet in about the same spot of the lane. That's a good reference point to start on the lane. And let's see what happens with this. This is more of a medium reacting bowling ball. Okay, so that gave me a very good reaction. Now, just for the heck of it, let's try the bowling ball, which has a lot bigger core. So this one's going to rev up a little quicker. So I'm anticipating it to grab and hook a little bit more. So I'm going to allow for that hook by moving my feet and adjusting my angle to the inside part of the lane with the heavier concentrate of oil. And let's see what happens. Okay, so I have 3 different options there. One that goes a little straighter, one in the middle, and one that hooks a lot.
And you average about 235 on an alley like this.
Yes, very simple.
So, yeah.
I do want to discuss one quick little thing if I can.
Absolutely.
There is a nice little system. If you noticed, I was taking my thumb hole in and out from the bowling balls. It's very nice, especially with weather change or if your hand changes. I have a couple different sizes. And if they're able to zero in on the camera at all, it just simply twists in and out.
Of the thumb hole.
Of the thumb hole. So it allows a lot of nice options there. You don't have to monkey around with tape so much. It's just you grab your thumb, whatever your thumb size is that day, and you go.
Well, let's introduce Emily also. Come on in here with us. Emily Janisch, as I mentioned, is going into her senior year at Henry Sibley High School. She's been bowling about 6 years. She has bowled in a number of competitions. Her team won the state championship last year. Next year she'll be off to college somewhere. And the one nice thing about bowling today, which was very difficult years ago when I started bowling, and of course when I started bowling we didn't have electric scoreboards, and we actually had to set the pins. There had to be a pin boy down in the back. That's how I learned to bowl. And of course, I never learned very well, obviously. But we would have to set the pins after each ball and keep track of how many people were bowling, what frame it was. It was very difficult. Today, it's all automated. So you don't know how lucky you are. But Emily will be off to college, and a lot of the colleges, like they do with other athletics, are offering scholarships to bowlers. They want good bowlers, they want good teams, they want to be competitive, and Emily's going to have her pick of the draw in that regard. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background with Emily?
Sure. Emily started here, just as a basic beginner bowler, and has progressed excellent. She has a big drive to practice, comes in a lot of the time, very competitive, willing to get coaching, which is very important. A lot of people growing up aren't willing to get coaching, and the best athletes in the world need coaches, and I've had the pleasure to work with Emily.
Emily, what do you average now?
On a house shot, I'm averaging a 203, and then on a sport shot, I'm averaging a 176.
A sport shot being a competitive shot.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a little bit different when you're bowling competitively, isn't
A lot
it?
different, yes.
Yeah. The pressure is on, among other things. Of course, when I bowl, the pressure is always on. But and we'll take a look at some of the different styles. Scott, why don't you lead off here and take Emily up there.
Okay.
And talk about some of the things we're going to see.
Okay. Why don't you come on over here? And why don't you grab your bowling ball? We're just going to do a couple of basic things. I want you to hold the ball. What a lot of mistakes that people make with bowling is they hold the ball too much in the middle part of their body, or they hold it up too high. Okay? So I want you to throw a ball like that once, and let's see what happens. So the ball went offline, and it wrapped a little bit behind her back. So what we're going to do is we're going to straighten that up. Also, her ball didn't hook enough. Okay, so we learned from before, there's more hook to the outside edges of the lane. So what we're going to do is move her feet a considerable amount to the right. And we're going to make some adjustments in how she holds the ball. Hold it a little bit more off to the side of her body to get it more in line, and a little bit lower, not so high. Let's see what happens. A lot closer ball reaction. So if we're leaving her spare, the best way to attack her spare, she's going to use that very old hard surface ball, which we know that goes very straight a lot of the time. All right, so go ahead and show us how to do this, Emily. She got that one a little bit left. But that was the general idea. So a few common mistakes are people hold the ball a little bit too much in the center of their body and they wrap it behind them. Real important to hold it off to the side, get it into a straighter swing. Also about belt or waist high.
It's like any other sport. You have to be in shape to bowl, and you have to, in terms of your mental shape, although people of all sizes and all ages can bowl. I mean, kids 5 and 6 come down to the bowling alley and they put up rails and they can bowl, or a young woman 18, or an old codger. And the fact of the matter is that it's a fun sport, it's a great sport, it's a family sport, and everybody can bowl. Not everybody takes the time to practice and learn. When did you start bowling, Emily?
When I was about 11 years old.
Okay, and you're soon to be 18, so you have learned a lot, but you have practiced a lot. And you also are competitive, as Scott said.
Yes.
So you want to win. And let's see now what we have learned.
And I wanted to add one little thing. If you notice also each of us on our wrists, there's a few different things going on. Emily just has a little bit of wrist wrap here for support. I have a little bit more of a support, probably evident to 30 years of competition. And Alan has even a little bit stronger piece support and elbow support.
And the elbow support is because I got tendonitis in my elbow and had to have a cortisone shot. So I wear this now, and in the several years since I had tendonitis, I haven't had any problem with the elbow at all.
Another item to purchase, these compression sleeves are excellent. You see a lot of people using them, even in golf now. It just, muscle fatigue doesn't happen. Some weekends I play 20, 25 games, and it doesn't make my arm feel tired.
Now, what's the most recent competition you were in?
I bowled this past weekend an amateur bowlers tour event up in Brooklyn Center.
And?
I finished first. So yeah, it was a very good weekend.
And you also had a national competition not too long ago.
A national competition against tour players out in New Jersey against over 400 people, and I finished 33rd.
Okay. And Emily, where have you really competed besides the high school leagues?
I recently just got back from New York. I competed in Junior Gold, which is a national tournament.
And is there an age limitation for Junior Gold?
There's different divisions. There's 3 different divisions. There's U12, U15, and U20. So I was in the U20 division.
And you did very well.
It was my first year. I went out there and I tried my best. I wouldn't say I did as good as I could, but it was a great experience going out there.
Was there over 700 people in your division?
There was, yeah, about 650 people.
And you finished in the top third, right? You finished in the top 200?
In the 200 range.
So that's not
And
bad.
it's a first competition. It's a first national competition. It's different. As it's different here, bowling in front of cameras, it's also different when you're in a competition and there's a lot of aggressive people who want to take the prize. So
Absolutely.
So what would you like to demonstrate now?
Well, what we could demonstrate is a little bit of spare shooting, I guess. We didn't talk about that. Not everybody throws strikes like you do, so Emily and I have to throw out a lot of spares.
Why don't I throw a ball and then somebody can throw the spare
Okay.
when I don't strike?
Just like practice.
Just like practice. Now, I have really 2 fingers here and the thumb. Some people I notice have 3 and 4.
Yes.
Is that allowed?
It's allowed as long as you're using it. It basically allows a little more support for the hand and wrist.
Scott actually was planning to retire after trying to teach me for 5 years, but fortunately he didn't.
I just hope to be bowling when I'm 80, Alan.
I'm telling you, it's a wonderful sport, and age is not the differential. Because I'm a left-handed bowler.
We don't hold that against you.
So I'm standing on the 18th board, and I'm looking at number 3. I've got the ball at my side, as Scott suggested, and I take a 4-step approach, and let's see what happens.
Not bad.
Not bad, but
I'm gonna go.
I leave almost an impossible split.
Yes.
So who's going to pick up this
I'll
impossible
give it a
split?
shot. So we're going to use a lot of the lane here. Stand to the left side edge of it. Try to angle over towards that right side. Basically aiming for the far right pin mostly. See if we can slide that other one into it. And I just missed a couple boards to the right, but that was close, as we say. Why don't we give Emily another shot?
Absolutely.
I know she's got a few strikes in her. So let's see if she can make a little more of an adjustment this time. And she came in a little bit light on the pins.
Emily, you're picking up this bag and wiping your hands on it. What is that?
Yes, this is a rosin bag. I usually pick it up before every shot. It helps me cool off my hand because it gets hot in bowling alleys. And so then when I go to put my hand in the ball, I don't stick inside of it.
It's very similar to what pitchers use on the pitcher's mound to get a little grip on the baseball. So she's moving her feet a little bit to the right. The ball starts rolling quicker and a much better result.
A nice hit.
Yep.
Absolutely. Of course, what's poundage are you throwing?
I throw 15 pounds.
15 pounds. I'm down to 14 now. I used to throw 16, and then as age progresses, I went to 15, now I'm throwing 14.
It really proves that it's not always 10% your body weight, what some people say. It's a lot to do with technique and doing the proper things, allowing you to throw the heavier ball.
Okay, let's see you pick up your spare.
I'm going to be standing more to the right because the ball will hook more throwing at the spare.
Very nice. That's very good. Very nice.
Thank you.
Now, the backswing is obviously important. To get some speed on the ball. Although speed, in my experience, is not the thing that makes a good bowler. Speed can help, but really it's your technique.
Absolutely. It's all about using your body correctly. A lot of the time it's using your legs. That's where we create a lot of speed and momentum was with legs, sometimes with arms, a lot with legs.
A lot of it's conditioning also. You really should, if you want to be a good bowler, stay in shape.
Yes.
Do some exercise.
Yes.
And I know you do.
Yeah, lots
you
of
do
exercise.
People don't think of bowling as a sport where it's important to stay in shape. And the fact of the matter is, like any other sport, it's very important.
Absolutely.
Especially on long tournament days, we have to keep our endurance up to have our body get through 15 to 20 games.
Yeah, over a competition weekend where you're throwing a lot of games, a little bit different than when I come down here in the league that Sharon and I are in. We throw 3 games and that's it. We might practice during the week and throw a couple more games.
Sure.
But the fact of the matter is, we're not straining ourselves by throwing 20, 25 games. And you, in some of the competitions you're in, have even more games than that in a short period of time.
Yes.
So, why don't you get up there and show us how to do a strike? A beautiful shot.
Just for you.
And a beautiful result. Thank you,
there.
thank you. Scott, what would you like to demonstrate in addition to what we've seen so far?
I'm just going to demonstrate. I'm going to throw one here. It's a little trick shot. And just going to demonstrate the fact that bowling is a lot of mental part. And I'm going to try and throw it through the chair. And my mentality really doesn't change even though I'm going to throw it through a chair. I'm not thinking about, boy, I don't want to throw it on the outside and hit the chair. I'm just going to concentrate on hitting my target, just like always.
Speaking of that, there are arrows down there about 20 feet down.
Correct, about 15, yep.
15. What's the significance of the arrows?
Well, the arrows just give you a little bit of an indicator of let your ball kind of guide towards the pins. It's a lot easier to look at something in that area 12 to 15 feet as opposed to looking at the pins, which are 60 feet.
Now we know that there are 40 boards. So
39 actually.
39.
Yes.
So when I say, well, yeah, the center board. When I say I'm standing at 18 as a left-hander, I'm standing 2 boards to the left of the center arrow. And when I say I'm looking at 3, it means that I'm really looking at the 3rd board over here.
Yes.
However, when I put the ball down, I don't put it down on 3. In my case, it usually goes down on about 7, even though I'm looking at 3. And the ball that I have, which I got here at On Track, is a ball which has a certain amount of natural hook to it.
Yes.
So
all right, let's see what happens. So I'm just going to get up here, go through my normal thing, get myself set, make a good shot. All right.
That's with an impediment. And we're going to create even a larger impediment now because we're going to get Emily out sitting on the chair and Scott's going to throw the ball as she takes a deep breath.
It's also very important that all of us have our bowling balls fitted to our hands. That makes a big improvement in bowling. one that fits your hand as opposed to one that doesn't.
Oh,
Careful you don't go off the edge there.
is it
Are your medical bills paid for? Oh, I guess you're safe.
Oh,
Bowling is a fun sport.
Absolutely.
Bowling is a really great sport. Bowling is a frustrating sport. My problem lately has not been getting strikes. My problem
Thank you.
has been making my spares.
Okay.
So let's see what we can get here. Am I holding the ball correctly?
Yes, it looks very good. You're off to the side, you're not to the middle, you're at belt high. Looks very good.
So as a left-hander, my first step on a four-step approach is going to be with my left foot. I am looking at the third board, although you will see that the ball is not going to go over the third board. It'll be closer to the center.
That one was pretty good right there. Very nice. Very good shot.
nice
Now,
shot.
what I left there is the most frustrating of any pin for me, for most left-handers.
And if you're bowling well, you're going to leave that pin.
The 7-pin. The shot itself was not a bad shot.
Not at all.
Now the question is, where do you stand to pick up that pin?
Well, just the opposite of what I did for when I left my 10-pin. You're going to want to stand to the far right part of the lane and use as much of the center part of the lane to get the ball to go left.
And what am I going to look at?
In general, you're going to use that 20th board in the middle, somewhere in there. Everybody's a little different, but I would say that's roughly your guide, maybe a little further left of that.
I'm standing on the 38th board. Now this ball has a natural hook to it. So what I have to try to do is put it down so that it will not hook.
Correct.
So my delivery has to be somewhat different. And I have had very little success in picking up this pin of
Until
late.
now, you're going to make it right now.
No, I'm not. My form was terrible on that shot.
On to the next one.
Those are the shots we have to just forget about.
Yes. You put that in a part of your brain where you just close it off and try again.
We'll give it one more shot.
All right. So I would say for your first ball, you should move your feet maybe one more board to the left, to about the 17th board. Get a little bit more angle on the pins.
I also have a new pair of bowling shoes, and you might talk about the importance of shoes.
Sure.
And I'm not quite used to them, so it really has changed my approach.
Okay. There we are. There we are. Excellent.
With that shot,
Great shot.
I don't have to worry about making my spare.
Exactly. So if we could borrow Emily's shoe, her left shoe primarily, we can talk a little bit about the science of shoes. And what has happened a lot, bowling shoes allow for removable soles. If you step in something or whatnot, or if you need a little bit more slide or less slide, same thing with heels. So a lot of technological advances there, and these are great. Awesome to use.
And yours are?
The same thing. I have a removable sole on the bottom of my lens shoes, and they allow for stickier approaches and whatnot.
There are a lot of people who say, I don't have a sole. So, is there anything else that we want to cover?
I think we covered everything, you know. On-Track Pro Shop covers all areas of the bowling game.
Well, I want to thank the Eagan TV crew, without whom we couldn't do this. I want to thank Emily Janisch, who is the bowler of the future, and Scott Pohl here at Cedarvale. And I might mention that in addition to a great bowling alley, we also have a great restaurant here, Fitz's Restaurant. And you won't normally find people going to eat just to go to a bowling alley. However, here people come just to eat at Fitz's, whether they are bowling or not. And with that, I want to thank my two pros here.
Thank you.
And we will join you again from studio for Access to Democracy in the not too distant future. Look for us. Come down, bowl. It's fun. Take your family. As my family is going to visit this week, and my grandchildren are going to be out here, and we're going to go bowling. It's a fun sport. Thank you.